Hello and welcome to this very first episode of Influential Breathwork podcast. Now, we are today getting into the absolute basics about breathwork with what is breathwork? And this is really your beginner's guide as to what it is, what it isn't, and how you can get involved and why you would want to in the first place. Now, a bit about me. My name's Anna Parker-Naples, and I've been in the motivational and coaching space for over a decade. However, I recently had a period of burnout. I had so much stress, anxiety that came almost out of nowhere. And actually now I feel really lucky to have been through such a difficult period because it led me to breathwork. And what we're seeing right now is that many more people are being drawn towards this modality because it makes sense and because we now have the science to back up these ancient practices. There's nothing new about breathing. We've been doing it every single day that people have been alive. And to some extent, what you may find is when you talk about breath work, some people might be like, well, hang on, we all breathe all the time. How can we possibly be getting it wrong? Or we all breathe all of the time. How can you actually be teaching this? So we're going to start at the beginning as to what you get out of doing breath work, the different types of breath work, and how and why you might want to begin with it. For me, this process has been absolutely life-changing. I was drawn to it initially because of, as I said, burnout. And actually for me, I wanted to connect more with myself, with my inner wisdom, a sense of self-trust. But I also, as I went down that journey into trusting myself more, potentially going after a more profound, maybe even spiritual connection, I realized that there was so much about the process of breathing that could completely change our relationships with our emotional, mental, and physical health. And it was at that point I knew that I had to bring this to more people. So I am now founder of Influential Breathwork. We have an academy where we train coaches, we train people to understand our five-step framework, which you're going to be hearing about inside these videos. However, what I need you to do right now is go and subscribe to this video. If you are listening to this on audio, wherever you're listening on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you find podcasts, then of course listen there, make sure you subscribe, but also head over to YouTube and subscribe there because on the YouTube channel only, we are going to be having some exclusive content, which includes things like breathing exercises, some deep guided breathwork sessions, some breathing energy center activation meditations, and we're also going to be having a whole array of subconscious reprogramming tools, such as hypnosis, tracks, guided visualizations, meditations, and they're all going to be only on the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and watch this space. My intention with this channel is that you're going to learn, you're going to have your interest piqued, you're going to hear from some of the other leaders within the breathwork field, you're going to hear some of the science that is rapidly being discovered and researched, some of the areas of research that are developing. But more importantly, you're going to understand how you can use your breath to feel better emotionally, physically, mentally, and generally in your life, to have more energy, more sense of self-trust, even a spiritual connection, if that's your bag. So I hope you're going to really enjoy this journey. So let's get started then with the title of today's episode. What is breathwork? The definition of breathwork, if you were to look in a dictionary, which I have on occasion, is that it is the conscious and deliberate focus on your breathing to affect change in your mental, emotional, or physical health. So that's it. So when we're talking about breathwork, what we actually mean in terms of the definition is that we are deliberately altering what's going on with our breathing so that we can change something in our bodies, minds, or mental state. Okay, so that's the kind of top level. We then find within the breathing world, the breathwork world, that there are two main camps as to how breathwork is delivered and how it's received by people. So the first is what you may already have associated with breathwork, which is where you may have experienced it like a yoga session, for example. At the end of yoga, you might have done some breathing exercises. That would be breathwork. You may have come across groups or retreats or classes where, again, it's in groups on yoga mats or blankets, and people are lying down and doing breathing exercises to have a long, deep breathwork, profound journey. And very often they're using a technique called conscious connected breathing, which you are going to hear about on this channel as we go through. And those particular types of breath work are traditionally, I suppose, quite spiritual in bent. And as a result, unfortunately, can be quite off-putting for the majority of people, or it doesn't feel accessible. Maybe that's a better way to say it. However, you can have incredible experiences and open up your thinking. You can help depression, anxiety, panic disorders. You can lift yourself mentally. You can achieve states of euphoria. You can shift trauma. We're going to be talking a bit about trauma and what it looks like and feels like to notice that you have that in your body, and what it's like to release it as well. So that's one camp then. And I think, unfortunately, breathwork has a bit of a bad image in that sense. However, on the other side of the coin, we have functional breathing. And functional breathing, again, has a bit of an image that I think that we need to break down. Functional breathing has been adopted as a way to enhance athletic performance. And this has come about really because we have now so much science and research into what's happening in the respiratory system, what's happening in the body, what's happening in our blood and in our brain when we learn how to breathe in what I'm going to deem as proper breathing. And that leads us to think, well, hang on, we're all breathing every single day, 20,000 times a day, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. How can we possibly be getting breathing wrong? And that's something you're going to discover more and more about on this show. In a nutshell, though, what's happened is we have this sort of semi-pro or enthusiastic amateur athlete vibe going on with breathing protocols. And then on the other side, we have these longer, deep, quite spiritual looking exercises. And what I've found is that we need to bring this into the mainstream. This needs to be information that is consumable and absorbable and integrated into the world. And that's my mission here with the Influential Breathwork podcast. That is the mission with the Influential Breathwork Academy, where we train people how to take these 5 levels that breathing can help with and help people to transform their lives. So those 5 levels are the physical and functional. So the majority of us in our modern day society are breathing in a dysfunctional pattern. And I'm not going to go into that too much today, except to say that we can radically change our health, our mental well-being, and the longevity of our lives, not just the longevity, how long we go on for, but the quality of the longevity of our lives by altering our breathing patterns. And that's going to come in the next episode. Then, so once we've got the physical and functional aspect of breathing sorted out, not only are we going to feel better and have more energy, not only are we going to be utilizing our vehicle, our apparatus in the way that it was intended, and we then are able to look at what the breath and what breathing can do to change our conscious state. And by that, I mean how we are making decisions, how we're able to focus, how we're able to tap into creativity, how we are able to remove brain fog. All of these things are influencing our experience of everyday life. And when you understand about breathing exercises and breathwork exercises, you're able to integrate them easily and quickly into your everyday life. Now, these can act not just as a sticking plaster or a quick fix in a crisis situation. Say, you've flared up and you're feeling really angry and you need to bring yourself back down into more balance. We can do that with the breath pretty quickly. But what else is powerful about this is that not only can you have these quick fixes, but long term, you can drastically change how you're responding, because you are enabling your autonomic nervous system to be better regulated. So that's the conscious aspect, how we change what's going on in our conscious brain. The next level then is about the subconscious. Now, the subconscious is the part of you that is running everything else in your body and making all of those decisions about how you see the world. And we can affect it through different types of breathwork exercise, different types of breathwork journeys. And one of the main reasons that we can do this is because when we do a deep breathwork session, either doing what's a kind of connected breathing pattern or doing breath holds, we're actually able to go into a very deep brainwave state that is deeper than many forms of meditation, certainly deeper than many forms of hypnosis. So we're able to get good information and get rid of some of the negative limiting beliefs pretty darn quickly by doing breath work. So that's the subconscious level. And again, we'll be talking about that and how to utilize that for yourself, as well as giving you access to some incredible tools, breathing exercises, hypnosis videos, guided visualizations that are going to become part of this YouTube channel over time if you stick with me. So the next thing then, the next layer is the somatic. And this is where for me it gets really exciting. Because not only can we change how we're thinking, feeling, acting, and behaving by the breath, but when we have a memory, and particularly a traumatic event, whether it's a little t trauma, which we've all encountered, or a big T trauma, where your body has, or your mind has not had the ability to process what's happened for you, what can happen is that those memories become stuck inside in your body, in your tissues, your muscles, your fascia, your cells. And what we're able to do through somatic release, of which breathwork is a major part, then we're able to shift these these blockages within our system to open ourselves out to having feelings of freedom, limitless thinking, and a real sense of expansion. And when we have that, the world feels like it is our oyster. We can achieve anything. So when we're looking at the somatic part of breath work, what we're doing is we are getting rid of the toxic thoughts and patterns that we've held in our body. We may well, like I have done all sorts of subconscious reprogramming, the hypnosis, the talk therapy. But what we're finding more and more with research into trauma and how the body stores trauma is that it's not enough just to do the talking work anymore. We've got to look at the body. And that is where breathwork is super powerful. And then the final part of breathwork that we'll be discussing is the energetics around changing your breathing patterns, entering a different state, an altered state of consciousness by taking your brain to a different place and allowing your mind then to have this total freedom. What happens for you when you are able to tap into a feeling of expansiveness and of being much more connected to the world and to the universe beyond? How does that feel and what does that do for you? So breathwork for me is a really super powerful modality that, my God, I can't believe how lucky I feel to have found it, that we can integrate with all sorts of other coaching modalities. This can work in a kind of one-on-one coaching relationship. This can work in terms of leading group coaching sessions. This can also work in terms of integrating it with other energetic practices, such as, for example, Reiki or EFT, emotional freedom technique, or many of the other energetic work that you might find within the coaching space. It can be added on to types of physical therapy, such as body work, PT, chiropractic, osteopathic treatments, all sorts of things that breathing can be added into. And when we do this, we are able to change lives. So that is the real mission of this YouTube channel, of this podcast, is to be able to have the ability to change lives, millions across the world, by getting out this information about the influence of breath, the influence of breath work across every part of your life. Every part of your being is affected by your breath. And when we're able to get this out there and have this knowledge about how breathwork can impact you, then we can change classrooms, we can change corporate spaces, we can change how people interact, we can change relationships. But most importantly, we change the relationship with ourselves. And that for me has been an incredible journey that you're going to hear a little bit more about as we go through these episodes. So I hope you will go hit subscribe and you will come back and watch the next episode, which will be about the foundations of functional breathing. What are you doing and what aren't you doing that is causing your body and your mind to act and behave in a particular way? Make sure you subscribe now so you can catch up. And I hope you've enjoyed finding out a little bit about what is breathwork.